Hello and welcome to Talking Good Games. Just finished AEK Larnaca 0, West Ham United 2, a brace from Michail Antonio. Two fantastic goals from Michail Antonio. Enough to give the Hammers, in the end, a comfortable win in Cyprus, a healthy lead going into the second leg at the London Stadium. We made it 1-0 after 36 minutes, Antonio with the header, but I will be honest. That first half hour, we were poor. Luckily, Larnaca were poor, and I think they were really poor throughout the game, and that's why we've won 2-0 very comfortably. Obviously, because we had the better players and the quality shone throughout. Now and again, in small glimpses, we were the better team, but we didn't have to be the better team for 90 minutes. Larnaca made it relatively easy. That first half an hour, though, we were really not on it whatsoever. I think we were trying too hard, if anything. I think we were trying to do a lot of this keep ball stuff and trying to be a bit more impressive in possession. And once we started to go a little bit more direct and just speed it up a bit, the last 50 minutes of the first half was relatively comfortable. But while I thought we were poor, I wasn't bothered. I wasn't worried by what Larnaca had to offer. That was as poor as we were going to get, really. And they still had very little to offer. A few corners and whatever. I mean, the corners were racking up, but quite often in the first half, they were coming one after the other. So one corner would lead to two, would lead to three in quick succession. But Ariola was untested. They had a decent header from the front post early on that he could have done a bit better with. But apart from that, our defence was untested in the first half, I think. But we made it 1-0. Through Michail Antonio, really good work down the left-hand side. Said Benrahma with a wonderful cross and a fantastic header by Antonio. A really, really good header to just guide it, pinpoint into that back corner. I thought was a fantastic finish from him. Now, up until this point, I thought Antonio was poor, but we'll get on to that. We will get on to that. We made it 2-0 just before the break, and what an absolute stunner this is from Antonio. Rice gives it to him, and he sort of turns, and the defender backs off and gives him a yard and a half. So he just picks it. He wallops it into the top corner. An incredible strike from him. I did not know he had that in his locker. In all honesty, he technically hasn't, because if I'm not wrong, I think that's his first goal for West Ham from outside the area. He might have had one more with his left foot as well in a previous season. But he doesn't often score from outside the box, Antonio. But that was an absolute stunning goal, which gave us a 2-0 lead before half-time. So I was really happy the fact that we were winning 2-0, but the performance was a bit flat, a little bit clumsy, a little bit scrappy. We didn't play them off the pitch or anything. Like I said, Larnaca are a poor side. They had a lot of effort and they made it difficult for us, committed a few fouls and whatever, and tried to break up our play. So it was difficult for us to get into the flow of things. But we were 2-0 up due to a fantastic crossing finish by Antonio, and then a wonderful individual goal by Michail Antonio. So he was the difference at half-time. In the second half, we played like we were 2-0 up. We just kept it simple, really. Made sure we didn't do any major individual errors. We had a couple of opportunities. Could have made it 3, could have made it 4 at one point. But Antonio very close to getting his hat-trick as well, and got played through and goal on his left foot. It would have been the perfect hat-trick. Score with his head and his right foot, so this would have given the perfect hat-trick. Hit the inside of the post and sort of just whizzed across the line. And he was really unlucky in the end, Antonio, not to get his hat-trick. Then the substitutions came, and Paqueta should have scored, though. Cornet puts him through. Really good play by Cornet. Lovely ball. Puts Paqueta through. And you know something? Antonio got hammered for this at Old Trafford for missing a very similar opportunity. And I gave Bowen stick for doing it against Brighton. I'm going to give Paqueta stick for doing it tonight. Had that game been 0-0, he needs to be putting that away. His touch just before he shoots is a bit too heavy. It just sort of bobbles away from him too far. I say a decent save, not really. It's good goalkeeping. His positioning was really good, and coming out was to close Paqueta down was really good. But he should be doing better, Paqueta. But the second half, I think we just tried to keep it comfortable, really. It led to a lot of pressure on our defence, but I actually think that's not necessarily a bad thing. Now, I'm going to be scraping the barrel here, so bear with me. But tonight was perfect. David Moyes will be buzzing with tonight. 2-0 win, comfortable. We assume no injuries. Players that he wanted to get minutes, such as Skamak and Cornet, got minutes. Players that he wanted to get off the pitch, such as Said Benrahma and Declan Rice, who was able to substitute them because we were 2-0 up and looking good. We were looking decent for our lead. So as for Moyes, I think that was a perfect a perfect night, really. He'll be going away happy. His team selection's justified as well. He made a lot of changes. And as for Moyes, I think he's got everything spot on tonight, really. As for the players on the pitch, we weren't at our best tonight. We had another couple of gears we could have gone, but we didn't have to be. It was a bit of a tough watch. It was a bit boring at times and a bit, like I said, scrappy. We weren't very fluent keeping possession. At times we did okay. At times we were poor. Everybody was at it, though. Every player was doing misplaced passes. We were just a bit too relaxed, I think, but we got the 2-0 win. We did what we had to do. Now, the reason I think it might have been good the way the game played out, and like I said, I appreciate I'm scraping the barrel here. Bear with me. But when the lineup come out, I had a little feeling, or I still do to some extent, that possibly Kerr's getting trialled at right back ahead of the Aston Villa game. Obviously, Ben Johnson didn't have a great game against Brighton. But certainly the Zouma-Aguerd partnership, you imagine, is what Moyes wants to have as his first choice centre-back pairing long term. Will he deploy it against Villa, or will he put Ogbonna back in there? I've got a feeling he'll go with Zouma and Aguerd. And in the group stage, during the Conference League group stage, I think we've seen Ogbonna at the start of it and Aguerd for the final game or two in the group stage just cruise through these games. We were playing the group stage Conference League games and they were untested. The back four barely had anything to do. It was very comfortable for them. So tonight, to have Zouma and Aguerd under so much pressure for the last 10, 15 minutes when Larnaca were just getting corner after corner, cross after cross, and the game was getting a little bit opened up and they were having to deal with a lot of Aguerd and Zouma. I actually quite liked it for the longevity, if you want, which is testing those two out as a partnership, because we're not really seeing them play together this season because of injuries to Aguerd, and then when Aguerd comes back, Zuma's been injured, so not really seeing them. So to have them play 90 minutes together tonight, to keep a clean sheet, but also importantly, be busy, to be tested, to test the communication between them, their understanding, and I thought they were faultless. Now, like I said, there is an element of Larnaca are not good. Of course, that has to be taken into consideration. But in terms of positives, that's probably one of the things I'm most happiest about tonight, that Aguerd and Zouma partnership and just how good it looked. Areola still worries me a little bit, and that communication. And it's Aguerd again. That's the last 3 games now where Aguerd and Areola have gone for the same ball, or they've left the same ball, and they've ended up having to discuss with each other who should be getting it. That needs ironed out pretty quickly. But tonight, listen, tonight was good. Tonight was good. Cornet got vital minutes as well. I thought he looked good when he came on. Fantastic turning pass for Paqueta. But it was boring. If a better team could have beaten us tonight, a better team would have beaten us tonight. We weren't perfect. As for Michail Antonio, do you know something? I'm going to give him my man of the match. Right? There's another couple of players I'm going to discuss, but I'm going to give Antonio man of the match. However, I thought up until he scored the first goal, I thought he was poor. Antonio 2 years ago would have relished that physical battle. The Larnaca, the centre-backs were up for a bit of a physical fight tonight. And I thought in the first half hour, nothing was sticking to Antonio. He went down easy on a couple of occasions. The defence was getting better of him. And I wasn't enjoying it. I thought was part of the reason we were struggling in that first half hour, because we were using him, we were putting the ball to him, and he would lose it. At one point, we were comfortable with possession in their third, just knocking it side to side. Creswell rolled it down the line for him, and he just sort of like fell over. He got like a little bump, and he just went down. I thought, well, what's that? You just lost the ball. But the first touch was a fantastic finish as well. Did well to set up Lanzini's shot. He goes up against the defender, gets it down to Fornals, who gives it to Lanzini. This shot for the second goal was absolutely stunning. But did he have an overall good game? Not really. I think he's struggling a little bit, to be honest with you. Like I said, Antonio 2 years ago would have loved that game. He would have been man of match. We would have seen beast mode. The reason I'm giving the man of match tonight, though, is because he's the striker and he scored 2 goals, and that's won us the game. And I think if, Danny Ings, when we played Everton, was okay, but he got the 2 goals, and that's the difference at the end of it. If you've got a striker that's going to score you twice, I always think to be better than him, to get that award, you're going to have to have had a really good performance. And I don't think anybody did. I don't think anybody put in an 8 or a 9 out of 10 tonight. They didn't have to. We won 2-0 and everybody's played okay. at best, a couple of players possibly even played poor. Saeed Benrahma looked sharp, though. I do think Benrahma looked like our biggest threat, and I was quite pleased to see him substituted alongside Declan Rice, because I was a little bit worried after the Brighton game that he would be the one that sort of drops out for the Aston Villa game on Sunday. Now, he was crap against Brighton. I'm not saying he was good against Brighton. He was rubbish. Okay, taking him off at halftime, I understood why Moyes did it. I think he could have taken off another couple of players. I think Paqueta was lucky to stay on the pitch against Brighton, but I understood why he did that sub. But my worry was, no, he's going to get dropped. So he started tonight, which arguably made me even more worried, because obviously Bowen was rested, Souček, Paqueta, you guys have a little rest, won't start use, but Benrahma did. And I thought in the first half he was our brightest spark. In the second half there's some really nice touches and movement from Benrahma. So to see him sub, I thought, well, that's good, because I think that is us keeping him for the Aston Villa game on Sunday. And I thought he was quite bright tonight. I thought Lanzini looked really, really good. I thought Lanzini looked good. Some misplaced passes as well, though, even from Lanzini. Somebody so technically clinical, but some nice touches from him. But that was it, really. I'm going to wrap it up there. A bit of a quick review, but there was not that much to talk about, in all honesty. Areola, comfortable. Defence, comfortable enough. Midfield was fine. Flynn Downs picked up a yellow card, which is a bit frustrating, because that means he's suspended for the return leg at the London Stadium next week. But because we've got no Premier League game, we obviously play Villa, and then we play Larnaca on Thursday, but there's no Premier League game after that because of the FA Cup. We were due to play Manchester City, but because they're the FA Cup, we've got that weekend free now. So in theory, we could play our first team next Thursday anyway, so we might not necessarily miss Flynn Downs. The good thing is, though, if we do proceed to the quarterfinals, it means that Downs hasn't got that yellow card potential suspension lingering above his head. He's taking the yellow card now and getting that suspension over and done with. But anyway, 2 fantastic goals from Michail Antonio, and that's literally the difference. Not much else to separate the teams apart from that. So, but job done from West Ham. It's a cup game. I always say that when it comes to cups, all that's important is the result. Just make sure that your name is in the hat for the next round. Well, we're halfway there, 2-0 lead. You'd imagine we're going to make it to the quarterfinals. Good minutes for some players. David Moyes will be really, really happy with that, and I can understand why. Like I said, was it vintage football? No, but we turned up. We had to get the win. We did that while resting players. Happy days. Well done, West Ham. Well done, David Moyes, and well done, Michail Antonio. 2 fantastic goals. If you've enjoyed this review, please do drop a like, comment, subscribe if you're new to Hammers Chat, and drop your thoughts on the game in the comments below, and I'll catch up with you tomorrow.